What's going on, everybody? This is Joshy Boy, and today we're talking about looking for raid. Raids have always been an integral part of World of Warcraft's elite player scene. Back in original World of Warcraft, or what we refer to as vanilla World of Warcraft, raiding meant you were cool, it meant you were important, but most importantly, it meant you were good. With World of Warcraft's not-so-new looking for raid system, players can queue from anywhere in game for raids. With this system, Blizzard created 3 different raiding difficulties. The first is looking for raid, which is shortened as LFR. The next is normal raids, and the last is heroics. Each raiding setting gets more difficult as you progress through. So looking for raid is the easiest in comparison to heroic, which is the hardest. As the raiding difficulty is harder, the loot's better. So that's kind of the idea. You do a harder raid, and you get better gear for doing so. As well, the mechanics are more difficult, and the monsters have more health and do more damage. With this system, most players can agree that raiding content can now be experienced through multiple avenues. What players don't agree on is whether this new system is fair and should be continually offered in World of Warcraft. So I guess I'm going to outline some of the arguments that I found against and for looking for raid. And these are just some of the prominent ones I found on forums and videos. These aren't exactly every single argument or argument for or against looking for raid. It's just the ones that I felt were most interesting. So first we're going to talk about some against. So a lot of people claimed that normal and heroic raids have a certain type of experience that raids, or I guess they would say that normal and heroics are the raid experience. They're what raiding always was. I mean, back in vanilla, before you really had heroic, normal, like, raiding was just an experience, and there was no multiple different kind of ways to have that experience. I guess people didn't really feel heroics was a bad thing because it just kind of allowed the more hardcore gamer to get to a further and more difficult experience. But people argue looking for raid dilutes what it means to raid because it's like an easier normal and heroic experience. Another argument against it is people claim that looking for raid is just kind of a no-fail experience. It's been coined as kind of a movie-watching experience as well. They feel that it's really easy for certain classes, depending on their roles in the incident, to just do nothing but auto-attack or just stand around even and just kind of experience the dungeon as if they were watching a movie. Another one is people would have claimed that back in the day, back in Vanilla or Burning Crusade, or maybe even Wrath, the reward aspect in comparison to the experience aspect of raiding were pretty equal. You had to put in a fair amount of experience, and there was a fair amount of experience to I guess, experience before you were able to get the reward aspect. So it was kind of equal. Now people say that with looking for raid, this kind of tips the balance in the favor of the reward aspect because the experience is a lot more easy now compared to the amount of reward that you get in. Especially now in Mists of Pandaria, the fact that you can now, that every player in the raid gets a piece of armor or a piece of or an item, I guess, rather than before it still was only, there would only be a certain amount of loot that you still had to roll on. So that's an argument against. Another argument is the idea that the looking for raid content doesn't really change in normal and heroics. The idea that when you kill Deathwing in looking for raid, you kill him in normal and heroic all the same. The only thing that differs is the mechanics, and people would say that that just gets boring. So when you have a looking for raid step that you have to go through, it ultimately makes normal and heroic raids more boring because you're just going to be doing the same thing. So why would they make it that? Why would they make there another step that you have to go through? Essentially, making it so you have to go through the content so many times just to get to heroics. They just want the more hardcore gamer or certain gamers would just want to go straight to normal and heroics. They don't want to have to go through the content in looking for raid, which is to the lower difficulty because it seems like it just makes it so you have to experience the content way too many times to get to the highest level. Now some arguments for. A lot of people argue that it's very boring to learn new mechanics, and with looking for raid, the casual gamer can easily just kind of sail through in a way that he doesn't have to study up on the mechanics or really learn rotations and this and that. He can just kind of run through it at a casual pace and still experience what it's like to kill Deathwing. You know, in this aspect, it really caters towards the casual player's experience. Another idea for looking for raid is the idea that A lot of people that are current looking for raiders were past hardcore raiders back in the days, and maybe even now they've transitioned. And this is an idea that allows casual players to just experience the content at their own pace, instead of having to go through and find a guild or find people that they can work with. So they have to. So the only way they could, or so that they. Back in the day, they would only be able to experience this content through doing like a hardcore raid, which is time consuming to a lot of people. So I guess my own opinions of this are, I don't really have a strong opinion against it. You know, to me, there is nothing that I really see I just don't see looking for raid as really a negative experience. But in terms of my opinion for looking for raid, I have a strong one. I do feel it's a really great way for casual players like myself to experience the content. I for one, I mean, I go to college, so I have a lot going on, social, academic life. So this way I can actually experience the content and still get good gear, or mildly good gear, for not as much time commitment. I also feel like another opinion that I feel looking for raid is just a stair step. You know, it's avoidable. The normal raids, you don't require too good of gear to do normal raids. Looking for raid is kind of a way that like people that don't want to go that extra step to meet people or to actually form groups and guilds can experience the content. But if you're willing to put in that little extra time, you can easily go for normal heroic raids. So in that case, looking for raid is just kind of something that I feel you can actually personally skip out on. And for those people that argue that it's unavoidable, I really don't think it's true, because I mean, I for one recognize that I could do normal raids right out of the gate when I got to 90. Maybe I needed like a couple pieces of equipment, but I couldn't even do looking for raid at that time either. So I mean, the idea that normal and looking for raid, they're both kind of available at the same period of time. Anyway, guys, some other neutral points I observed, which I thought were kind of interesting when I was looking for ideas on this topic, were so many people in the community want to just generalize that their opinion is the community's opinion. I really don't like this at all. I mean, a lot of people would say that looking for raid is bad, and they would say everyone else thinks this way, so you should think this way. Kind of like jumping on the wagon, and I think that's really silly for people to do. It's very prominent in the community nowadays. Also, assumptions. People made a lot of assumptions of what the looking for raid experience is for players. So they said if it's a no-fail system, it's zero no-fail every single time. Personally, I can say from my experience, it's not zero no-fail. I'm a tank, and I've done many looking for raids, and there were not hundreds, but there were many times when it was difficult to get through, and I wasn't just, it wasn't just like a walk in the park. Many times we would wipe. It was not always, this easy, smooth sailing experience. But anyway, guys, I would love to hear your opinions on this. Obviously, there's so many opinions I could have covered, but I just wanted to cover some of the ones I felt were interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely leave a comment, and if you like the video, give it a like. Alright, guys, I will see you around. Thank you. Bye.